Hello, everyone. Hi, Richard.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing better now. My daughter came last night from Boston and she realized this morning she couldn't find her wallet.
Oh no.
There was a lot of drama in our house. We were all excited to see her, and then she realized she left it in her friend's rental car. And so she just went to RDU and they found it with everything in it. Thank God.
Yeah. Well, that is good news. Um, I just wanted to turn my camera on to let you know I do exist. But during these Rotary meetings, everybody looks fantastic. Even
Oh,
the gentlemen that complain about not looking good look fantastic compared to me. So in effort to hide my quarantine appearance, I always turn my camera off.
oh, you look great. What are you talking about? You look
It's,
great.
it's just the mustache. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't know. I don't know. I've just been wearing it throughout the pandemic.
What does your wife think about it? Is she pro mustache or no?
My wife is actually pro facial hair,
Okay.
like altogether. I like a clean shaven face, but she's like, I'll take a mustache, I'll take a goatee. Um,
Oh,
Earlier on,
interesting.
I had a full beard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my husband's like you. He's all for being clean shaven.
Yeah.
And my older son, but my younger son is the shaggier the better. Like he finally said, okay, barbers are open. I'll go to Sports Clip and get it clipped. But if he could look like, a mountain man and he'd be fine with it.
Awesome. A quick question: do you know if Doug from next week has received that form from Jim, or is he still waiting on me to send him the guest speaker form?
I don't think Jim has sent it. I'm almost positive of that.
No problem.
Valerie may have already sent it to him. Have you, Valerie?
That what?
So have you sent the speaker form already to Doug McMillan, or should Richard do that today?
Richard should probably do that since I haven't been kept in the loop.
Okay. Thank you
Understood.
so thank you so much, Richard, for stepping up while Mike has to deal with his mother-in-law is quite ill out of state, and so
No.
Yeah. And
um,
I will be sending you an email as well, Richard,
Okay.
because I need stuff.
All right. Well, I will get you stuff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Valerie needs those forms to keep from going mad.
Yes.
It's just so crazy for her if she has to, deal with the speakers and not know till the last second with no photo, no speaker
Right.
form.
And then having to search email to see if I have a bio, see if someone sent a picture. And I have no idea if our speaker today has a PowerPoint or not because I don't have a form.
I'm new to this, but it seems like kind of this speaker organization is kind of like this two-headed monster,
Yeah.
where one is the person that invites the speaker, but there is also a lot of like protocol and practical things that we have to put together, and the two heads don't talk all the time. So
No, they don't.
That is exactly right. Wow, you were so brilliant, Richard, that you analyzed that. You are a true scientist the way you
Yes.
think.
Linda, can you make me co-host?
Yes, doing that right now.
I'll be right back. I have to tend with my daughter who's supposed to be taking a nap, but she's not. But I'll be right
Oh,
back.
okay, understood. And Suri, I guess, is still trying to connect to the audio.
Okay. All right, I have participants. All right. All right, I'm gonna run down and refill my coffee.
Okay, no problem. I've got my water right here, so good. I see we have someone dialing in. I don't know who that is.
Me, it's Sylvia Hackett. How are you?
Oh, hey, Sylvia. Thank you for identifying yourself because when I do attendance, it's always like I have to figure out who is that number. I don't have everyone's phone number memorized. How are
No
you?
problem. I'm doing fine. I had great plans for the weekend. I was going to do all the stuff around my house, and I ended up being pretty much flat on my back all day Saturday. I have intermittent back problems,
Oh no.
and yeah, but I'm fine now, and time
Oh
to come
good.
back to work.
How did you fix your back problems? Do you have to do like exercises or do you have to go to a chiropractor or?
Generally, I just use something cool, so I ice and I rest, and that takes care of it. And generally, it's a day, sometimes 2 days, but this time it was only one day, so I'm much better.
Oh, good, good. I have a question for you. Funny, I was just thinking about this. My daughter's friend who drove her down yesterday, her friend lives in Brooklyn, and she is thinking of moving after all the craziness of living in New York City right now. And she does healthcare marketing and PR. Do you think is UNC Rex still hiring, or do they have a hiring freeze?
So that function is a corporate function, so it would be UNC. It might support Rex, but it would be at the UNC level. And they have a large team with plans to grow, so it would be worthwhile to, I think, explore. They may not have any jobs posted right now, but
Hmm?
she should at least, I'd be happy to maybe arrange for her to speak with someone about what they do and what the future looks like and what they'll be looking for.
Oh, that would be great because she's in her 20s. She's a real go-getter. She's worked at PR agencies in Boston. She is currently working at NYU, but like I say, after the pandemic and everything else, and she's paying a fortune to live in a tiny apartment that she's sharing with
Yeah.
roommates. She is ready to come back to North Carolina.
Yeah, I can understand why. Well,
Yeah.
if you want to send me her contact information, I'll be happy to forward it on to someone that might share with her what their plans are here. It's a large function.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. She's a really nice
Absolutely.
girl. And yeah, I totally understand why New York is losing its appeal. In fact, I think she said a lot of young people are going to move out now because it's just
Yeah,
to pay, it's sad, but to pay a fortune and have to deal with so much right now.
too much.
Yeah. And then also some of them are getting laid off. So you're in quarantine, you're dealing with, no job, and you're paying a lot of money to live with others in an apartment with no dishwasher. Or
Oh,
no,
no.
can you imagine? Or no washer in there. So yeah,
Uh,
that's fun.
I mean, everybody is working remotely these days anyway. She could probably, keep her job in New York and just work remotely
She
and
mi-
move.
she might be able to do that with NYU. I don't know if they're doing that. I mean, she's working remotely now, so she could possibly be able to do that.
I mean, it would be great to have the New York income and the North Carolina expenses.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of moving around if people can figure if they're able to work remotely.
Hi, Lynn.
Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon.
Hey, Lynn. Hey, Elsa.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. All I can say is that Monday already.
No, it's, it's crazy. You
I
lose
know.
track of time.
It feels like it should be Tuesday. Mondays are so hectic for me.
Oh, I
Yeah, me
bet.
too. And you got all the information, Valerie, about the past district governor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I mean, I didn't put too much on the slide, but there is a slide for him.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I edited it down. I knew you wouldn't be able to put the whole obit on a slide.
Okay.
Hi, Charles.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Oh, it's a nice day at the beach, finally.
Oh, you're at the beach. So what, did you have a rainy weekend?
Stormy. Yeah, we got here last week and you could not stand up. The winds were so strong and the waves were crashing, but today it's calm and clear and sunny and hot
Good.
and
Good.
humid and hot and humid.
Hot and
Hot
humid.
and humid.
Yeah, could be worse.
Yeah, but at least you're at the beach, so hopefully you'll get a breeze.
Yeah, although not, well, there's a bit. No, it's just coming up. As you spoke, Linda, the breeze has arrived. Thank you.
Hey, who knew I had that power?
Yeah, well, service above self, right?
I was just praying that my daughter would find her wallet that she left in a rental car last night, and she did. So maybe I'm more powerful than I thought.
Hey, we'll keep this in mind. Ugh. Hey, Charlie, you're on mute. I think
Yeah,
you need to be helping Surrey connect.
I'm eating
That
too, so I
line.
didn't want to, didn't want everybody to hear me eating.
I just realized I was on mute too. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Gina.
Hey there, Blondie.
My thank you.
You got your Rotary shirt on.
I know. I
I
just
like it.
I
Nice.
love it. It is one of those sports performance shirts. It even has a little thumbprints, for me to put
Mm.
in. And I got it at 5-Star Awards here in Raleigh. They actually have Raleigh merchandise or Rotary merchandise. They are an authorized kind of retailer in addition to Russell Hampton. And I basically convinced them for me to buy this off the rack. So as opposed to order it because I just needed it. So luckily my methods of persuasion allowed me to wear my beautiful new Rotary shirt, which is very
Yay.
What's the name of the place again?
It's called 5-Star Awards. You just, I think it's, yeah, 5-Star Awards and Engraving, and it's in Cary. And they have all of these really great shirts. I'm going to keep on putting my hair like that so everybody can see it. They do have a wonderful men's collection. I do have to admit, they had this beautiful, even a nice vest that a lot of like the hedge fund financial people are wearing right now. But
Nice. I'd much rather support a local business than ordering online. So.
yeah, absolutely. And the one of the women who run it, she's I think she's like secretary-elect or something for the district. So when I went in, she was completely blinged out with her Rotary pins and things like that. So it was very nice. They have a beautiful shop for any type of awards engraving as well.
I don't know if you mentioned on our agenda, but I don't see the picture. Sometimes I see your picture at the bottom, but I don't see it.
Afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hi, Eric.
Afternoon.
Hello.
There you are. I saw your name in the list, Jim, and I didn't see your face.
Yeah, well, I just joined. I had an actual client call.
What are those like, Jim?
Yeah, right. How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
Hanging in.
It's a Monday.
Yes.
And Gina, your hair looks glorious.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm getting mine done tomorrow, so I'm very excited.
I honestly, I feel like I felt like a new person. I finally felt like I did something for myself, and it was nice. But yeah,
Didn't know Marilyn Monroe was a member of our club.
I'm sorry.
Didn't know Marilyn Monroe was a member of our club.
I can't see.
And I cut 3 inches off, so that my hair was very overdue for a haircut and color. So.
Everybody have a nice weekend.
Yeah, I spent it up in the mountains at my cottage working the whole darn weekend, picking up branches, twigs, and blowing off the driveway and scrubbing the
Oh, I bet.
I bet, for sure.
The weather was great. It was cool in the shade and breezy and
Nice.
I was digging in the dirt all weekend, tearing my backyard apart.
I had an interesting experience yesterday. I went to my office in the Wells Fargo building, and as I was leaving the building, I had a briefcase in each hand, and I pushed against the glass, the heavy glass door to exit the building onto Salisbury Street. Only problem was there was no glass in the door.
Yeah.
So I just went straight through the door onto the concrete. It was quite an exit from the building.
How does the Wells Fargo building look, Jim? Was it very messed up?
You know, there was some broken glass and it's all boarded up. And I experienced a little of that broken glass as there was a few shards around the frame that sort of cut my shin a little bit, but nothing serious at all. But the building, you know, inside and the lobby and everything was fine. And, you know, hopefully the destructive phase is over.
Yeah, no kidding.
So too.
Well, I wish they would have identified more of the outsider bad actors and arrested them besides the 3 they got in Vegas.
Oh, in Vegas. Wow.
There was 3 they arrested in Vegas. One was a former military person, a cop, and I don't know who the 3rd guy was. They said it was this telltale sign when they came in with big black bags zippered, carrying them in with stuff inside.
Well, I'm down in our Raleigh office today, and you know, pretty much all the buildings down here are boarded up. You know, a lot of them have very attractive murals or things painted on them now. But you know, and I mean, it was sad. There have been a whole bunch of restaurants that had, you know, were opening up and working, and some of them are still open, but you know, quite a few of them are not now.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to bring us to order here. I think we've had a little grace period, so we'll welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to our June 8 meeting. So good to see everyone. And we've had obviously some very, very distressing times with the killing of George Floyd and the protests, which often have a good message, and the destruction which detracts from that message. And so hopefully soon we'll be moving into a phase where we're actually making some progress and addressing some of the issues that exist in our society. And Rotary can play a great role because we are all about inclusivity and making the world a better place and addressing poverty and hunger and disease and sanitation and education globally, as well as on all of the local clubs that they do. So we'll put our 1.2 million global members and 1.2 billion Rotary International Foundation to work further addressing these issues and try to unite people and promote peace locally and around the globe and promote unity. That's what we're all about, helping others. So with that, I'd like to just again say a word of welcome and turn the floor over to Charles Edwards for our invocation.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, everybody. The following is a series of excerpts from a poem I found called I Am Diversity, Please Include Me. I thought this was sort of appropriate considering what's going on in the world, not just in the US, but Canada, UK, and everywhere else. I'm present when two or more are together. If embraced, I can make the good even better. I'm not limited to age, gender, or race. I'm invisible at times and yet all over the place. Learn about me, improve my underrepresentation, and I can provide a competitive edge to our entire nation. I exclude no one. I am strengthened by all. My name is diversity, and yes, I stand tall. Recognize me and keep me in the mix. Together, there's no problem that we can't fix. I am your best hope towards true innovation, and to many, I reflect hope and inspiration. Your lives and companies will continue to change. This need for diversity and inclusion will also remain. I'm the solution that came from the odd question that was asked. I stand out in the crowd when I, diversity, am allowed to be unmasked. I'm diversity, embrace me, and we'll journey far. I'm diversity, include me, and we'll reach the shining star. Coupled with inclusion, our lights burn longer. Together we are smarter, better, and stronger. I am diversity. Yes, that's me. And now please join me in a pledge to allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have any guests, Linda?
Yes, we do. And Valerie should have that. Well, actually, why don't we have David Forrest introduce his guests?
Great.
Hi. Yes, I've actually got three. One is Chris Cheney. He's a local CPA here in Raleigh. The second is Jay Williams, one of my co-workers here at the bank, and then the third one is Matt King, who is our bank's chief credit officer. Thank you, Linda.
Terrific. And I don't know, Linda, if Fred Sturhan was able to join, but Fred, as everyone knows, is the general manager of City Club Raleigh. Fred applied for membership and passed with flying colors and will be inducted next Monday. So if Fred is on, I can't see him, but hello, and enjoy the program. And we look forward to formally inducting you into Rotary next Monday. So we're very, very pleased and excited to have you joining us, Fred. Let's see. All right, the cart and the happy dollars. Obviously, every week we contribute to fight Alzheimer's and dementia And we do that by donating our spare dollars, spare change to the cart bucket. At this time, the cart bucket is, of course, virtual in the form of invoicing by Linda Monaghan. So please make your donations to the cart bucket, and let Linda know, and she'll just include the amounts on your next invoice. And speaking of invoices, so we're trying now to wrap up the Rotary fiscal year, which ends at the end of this month of June. And Treasurer Tom Packer is working hard to reconcile all of the books, and he needs for everyone to complete their dues payment. So most of you have now paid your dues, and thank you for the quarter. But for anyone who has not yet done so, please make those dues payments. Send those in to Linda. Tom will, of course, give you credit, and he'll be able to wrap up the books on this Rotary year at the end of this month. We're doing well, but we do need your help, as always, to provide the critical financial support on which our club and its foundation operates. And of course, part of the dues go to Rotary International and the district also, and then that money goes to do so many good works, both in the area, but all over the globe. So thank you so much for your support to our club, and also to the Alzheimer's and dementia research that's ongoing. I wanted to mention that a past district governor has passed away, Arthur Christakos of Durham. He was a doctor. He was a wonderful man. He was a governor, as you can see, in 1996 through 1997. He had a distinguished career. He served in the Navy as a physician, served for many years as a physician in Durham, a beloved individual, member of the Greek Orthodox Church in Durham, many children and grandchildren, a long, full, productive life of service to others, and especially through Rotary, he was a great leader and provided service and inspiration to many. He led a life of helping other people. He was a shining example. You can find out more about Dr. Christakis online, and you can make donation as requested by the family there if you wish. And so thank you for honoring Dr. Christakis at this time. Now, we've got a report from Eric Larson, I believe, for the foundation.
Jim, I don't believe Eric was able to join today.
Okay, all right. Well, so let me report then for Eric. I know he's really busy. So we have given $1,000 each to 4 charities. Those are the Salvation Army, UNC Rex Healthcare Foundation, the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, and the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. Those are frontline nonprofits that are helping people during this pandemic time. Also, we're going to present a check for almost $4,000 to Wake Smiles. This is from our foundation, our club's foundation. We're going to present that check, I think, this coming Monday also. Also this coming Monday, next Monday, we're going to present Doug McMillan of Raleigh, who's led the YMCA for many years. He's been selected from a distinguished list as the Vocational Service Leadership Award winner for the 2019-2020 Rotary year. And he'll be presented with this distinguished award next Monday, and he's going to be introduced by his father, our beloved member, Robert McMillan. So this is going to be an introduction to remember, and I hope everyone can join this coming Monday for Doug McMillan's award Also, we're going to have the 4-way test essay winners. These students have written powerful essays about the 4-way test, and they're receiving awards also. Monetary awards, as will be their teacher. So please tune in for that as well. And as I mentioned, the induction into membership of Fred Sturhan. Let me turn the floor over to Christy for membership.
All right. Super quick update today. We're going to do our next virtual social on Thursday, June 25th. That's the usual date for our 5th meetings anyways. So hope y'all can attend. We'll send out the Zoom link for the week of, just so you'll have it fresh on your memory. And they've been really fun the last 2 times we've had them. Really great group, and got to just have a laid back evening and catch up on life. So hope you all can attend. And other than that, please continue to send me membership prospects. Even though we're doing the Zoom meetings right now, we're still obviously getting in applications and inducting people. And it may even be easier for some people to attend, with their schedules, the Zoom meetings for the next little bit. So send any my way, and that's all I have today.
All right, thank you so much, Christy. If Mark Hackett is on, he may have a brief report for us on the Southeast Raleigh Club.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Just real quick, as some of you know, again, the Southeast Raleigh Club is still doing a great job. Last week, they decided to forego their normal meeting and instead have a current event forum on things happening across this country, as well as across the world in terms of race relations. And they invited our district governor, as well as folks across the district. And I know that members of our board attended, so if any of you have anything to add, please do. But the discussion, the forum, was basically, number one, talking about how each of us felt about what was happening and the effect it may have directly on our lives or indirectly. And then how we as Rotarians what we can do to help improve race relations, particularly as it comes to living up to the 4-way test. So it was a great discussion. I think you'll see a lot more on that as the officers in that club are working with us and the district governor on ways that we can move this conversation forward into action. So it was basically last week's meeting. Again, they're doing a great job. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, a number of us attended that meeting. It was powerful. It was really powerful. I learned a lot. And we're just so proud of this club and to be associated with these amazing individuals. And we're so looking forward to joint service projects together. And also, we have ordered a Rotary bell inscribed commemorating the founding of their club, and we're going to present that to them in the near future. So we're very excited about that. Now let me turn the floor over to Gina for a report on service.
Well, hello, everybody. Happy Monday. So just wanted to tell you, we wrapped up our food drive. And last week I did tell you we were able to raise over $3,000, but I didn't have the exact number. So I am thrilled to announce that I actually was able to calculate all the numbers up, and we raised a total of $3,417. So congratulations. I'm really proud of our efforts, and we exceeded my goal of $2,000 for the club and then that $1,000 from the foundation. So yay, yay, yay. Congratulations. Next slide, Valerie. Okay, I wanted to just kind of highlight one of our organizations that our foundation just donated $1,000 to, as well as we have a member of our club that's in the Dementia Alliance. So just trying to bring a little bit of attention to the Dementia Alliance and all of the great things that it's doing for our community. So if you're thinking about what is the impact of dementia. More than 170,000 people in North Carolina have, been diagnosed with some form of dementia, and this is it's expected to kind of grow exponentially from there. So there is probably somebody that that has been affected. So the Dementia Alliance really, its goal is to kind of enlighten people, support, assist, as well as provide that really like that compassionate support for people either with dementia and or their caregivers. Going on to their website, they actually have a wonderful information page about dementia and how to communicate with people with dementia and COVID-19. So I think that was a really good resource for not just those with dementia, but really anybody that is dealing with somebody that maybe is a little bit elderly, that is kind of confused about what COVID is, and just trying to provide support. So you may want to check out that website just to find out what the Dementia Alliance is, as well as their support page for COVID-19. We would love for you to donate. All charities right now are looking for donations, and it's just that time of year because of COVID and that pandemic that giving is down, but not from our club, right? Our club is, leaders in the community. So looking forward to you to lead again. Because we can't do service events right now because of COVID, there are other ways to give back, and one of them is potentially making a donation. So if you make a donation to the Dementia Alliance, please let me know so I can track it. So next slide, Valerie. All right. Another reminder, so another partnership that we have is with UNC Rex, and again, they are also looking for supplies, donations. They have a great COVID resource website as well that I kind of highlighted a couple of times in May. But right now, we're really pushing for blood donations. I gave mine yesterday. I know Valerie just gave hers, I think it was either last week or the week before. So we do have members that are donating blood. If you do donate blood, let me know so I can track it. But if you donate blood now, they're actually also doing an antibody test of COVID-19. So that'll get you to be informed on whether potentially you had it previously. So thanks, Jim, for your time, and club. Thank you for all of your efforts over the past 2 months during this pandemic. These online meetings have been great, and I really do appreciate that we have been doing stuff for the community. Thank you.
Project. President-elect Steve has a request for a park project in downtown Raleigh, and we're also planning an April event with next year with the Southeast Raleigh Club as part of the Rotary Day. That'll be a district-wide day of service for Rotarians. We're also planning to be part of a meal packaging event in January, where this January we packed over 130,000 meals along with other Rotarians and volunteers to feed the hungry. So stay tuned. We've got a lot of service projects planned with leaders assigned, and as soon as we can get together in person, we're going to be really ramping up the service. So thanks to everyone for what you're doing during the shelter-in-place time to continue service. We have a few announcements. Birthdays. So Katie Mullen's birthday is June 13, and anniversary Stu and Ellie Gully on the 12th, and that is 64 years. So congratulations to Stu and Ellie on 64 years of married bliss. So that's fantastic. All right. So now to the Rotary Club of Raleigh. For those who do not know him, Michael Walden, PhD. Dr. Walden is Distinguished Professor of Economics at North Carolina State University, William Neal Reynolds Distinguished Professor of Economics at NC State. And he is also a member of the graduate economics faculty at the Poole College of Management. He obtained a PhD from Cornell University, and he's been with NC State since 1978. So I think this is something we have in common. I began law practice in 1978, so we're both extremely young and continuing. Now, something that we do not share in common is that Dr. Walden, unlike me, has published 12 books and over 300 articles and reports, including his newest book, North Carolina Beyond the Connected Age, the Tar Heel State in 2050. So he's looked out to 2050. And I haven't gotten quite to 2050 yet in terms of my forecast. He's also frequently heard on radio. He has a daily broadcast that's aired on stations around North Carolina. He has a bi-weekly column called You Decide, which appears in over 40 newspapers in North Carolina. And he's made over 3,000 personal presentations. He's won numerous awards. I'm not going to mention all of them because we all want to hear him speak. But just to name a few, he's won the Champion Tuck Award for Excellence in Broadcasting twice. He's won the UNC Board of Governors Award for Excellence in Public Service. He's been awarded by the governor the Order of the Longleaf Pine and the Holiday Medal for Excellence from North Carolina State University. He serves on numerous commissions. He's done a lot of public service work. He has a book that he is soon to publish called Real Solutions, Common Sense Ideas for Solving Our Most Pressing Problems. That will be published sometime this year. So now please join me in giving a warm Rotary welcome to Michael Walden, PhD, to tell us about the future of the economy in North Carolina. Dr. Walden.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jim. My pleasure to be here with Rotary. I always enjoy speaking to Rotary groups. You're very punctual. You're very attentive. You're very smart. The economy obviously is in the view of everyone. We are in a very challenging period. What I want to do is talk a little bit about how we've gotten into this situation, what the situation is, and how we're going to move out of it. Economists have had to totally discard their economic outlook material that we had at the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year, when most of us do a lot of outlook presentations, end of the year, beginning of the year, we were pretty much upbeat. Economists in general were very upbeat about the economy. We'd actually set a record in our national economy of 11 years without a recession. That is a record in our economic history. Most economists saw 2020 being another growth year. We had achieved both at the national level and here in North Carolina unemployment rates under 4%. Wages were rising. Very importantly, people at the bottom of the economic ladder were actually seeing bigger wage increases than everyone else. So that was good for trying to compress economic inequality. And then the coronavirus decided to make a visit to us. And it was decided by most governors with the backing of the federal government that in order to contain this very, very contagious virus, potentially very deadly virus, especially for someone like me who's 70 years old, those of us in that age range apparently are more vulnerable, that we needed to curtail social interaction. And that meant we needed to tell people don't go to work. We needed to tell businesses, a lot of businesses, about 30 to 40% of the businesses in the country at the peak of the shutdown were shut down. Upwards of 40% of workers were not working. We did all this for two reasons. One, in order to contain the spread of the virus. And secondly, to make sure the healthcare system did not get overwhelmed. There was a lot of, if you remember, just 6, 8 weeks ago, concerns that hospitals would not be able to handle all the cases. And that was when we were talking about getting enough ventilators, getting enough masks, et cetera. So this was what I call a mandated recession. We are in a recession. Recession simply means the economy is contracting rather than growing. This is the first time we've ever done this in history. First time most countries in the world have done this in history. I lived through a similar pandemic as a child, about 8 years old in the late 50s. Something called the Asian flu hit the US. My father had a small business. It went out of business, not because of a shutdown, mandated shutdown, simply because people didn't spend as much. We had a recession then, and that pandemic killed 116,000 people in the US. But we handled it much differently. We didn't shut down. But if you recognize that our population then was less than 1/2 what it is today, and we have to date we had more deaths then than we've had now, you can understand, I think, the point that we need to restrict social interaction in order to keep the death rate as low as we could. So that decision was made by most governors with the backing of the federal government, and as a result, the economy went into a quick downturn. We saw our unemployment rate, again, North Carolina as well as the nation, go from, as I said, under 4% to in the double digits. We saw record numbers of people file for unemployment. Most unemployment offices in the country, including here in North Carolina, were swamped with people. Our office is still trying to work through a backlog. We had the broad measure of the economy, something economists call GDP, gross domestic product. We don't have, that only comes out quarterly, but we think it's probably going to be down a record reduction for the second quarter when we do get the numbers. So this set up as we move through this virus, and as it looks as like the healthcare system has not been overwhelmed, and we're beginning to see some of the lines move in the right direction. This has raised the question of, well, should we begin to open up the economy? And what are the trade-offs between what I call health and wealth? And the problem here is we don't have a track record. We don't have anything to go on. I'm actually a member of the governor's North Carolina Economic Recovery Group, and we've been meeting weekly virtually with the governor and some of his folks. These are business people and a couple of economists. And we heard from Secretary Cohen last week, and she, very capable person. I've been very impressed with her leadership. She has said one of the big problems with dealing with this virus is we just don't know. We don't know how it's going to react in the warmer months. We don't know if it's going to come back. In fact, scientists, and I'm certain this is outside of my lane, but I try to read as much as I can about the virus. People who study this are coming up with different conclusions about how the virus is spread, how long it stays on surfaces, et cetera. So I think North Carolina is going about the reopening. And as most of you know, we are beginning to reopen cautiously. Secretary Cohen spoke to the two sectors of the economy that have been very vocal about so far being left out of the reopening, the bars and the gyms. I'm a member of the Hillsborough Street YMCA. I've had to now do my workouts in my dark, damp basement here, but you have to do something. So I'm anxious to get back to the gym. But Secretary Cohen indicated that, look, gyms, besides being in close quarters, besides people using equipment and sweating, there's a lot of rapid exhaling. I know that from experience. So the potential for the travel of germs and infections is perhaps greater there. So that's one reason why they've wanted to move slowly with gyms. And I think the issue with bars is if people partake of the kind of offerings that you typically get in a bar too much, they may kind of lose their rationality about protecting others around them. But that is a continuing debate. But North Carolina, I think, is moving slowly but cautiously forward to try to open up the economy. Now, where are we right now, and when are we going to get better? Well, we had some very startling news. Probably many of you saw this on Friday Friday was the release of the May national job numbers. And we'll get North Carolina's. It takes, do the national first and the states are done. It takes, it'll be a couple weeks before we get North Carolina's numbers. And the forecast for May, we had bad numbers in April. We thought we were going to get even worse numbers in May. There were forecasts that as many as 8 million more people would be added to the unemployment rolls. There were some forecasts by some economists that the unemployment rate, this is national now, which in April was 14.7%, could go as high as 20%. Well, the numbers we got out on Friday were totally contrary to that. We didn't lose 8 million people. In fact, we didn't lose 8 million jobs. In fact, we didn't lose any jobs. We actually gained 3 million jobs. The national unemployment rate did not go up. It actually went down by a percentage point. And if you look behind those numbers, you see, I think in all but 2 economic sectors, technology and government, there were jobs added. The work week went up, average work week went up, average wage rate went up. In fact, the wage rate in May of this year was average wage rate, that is what someone earns per hour, was 7% more than what it was in May of 19. So this was a startlingly positive report, and in some sense made economists in general look very, very bad because we were predicting the opposite. But I'd rather be wrong in this case, very wrong as we were. And I think what this indicates again is we just don't know. In the case of opening up, I think apparently what happened is as states began to open up, as more businesses began to come back or be allowed to come back, as more people were allowed to go back to work, people really celebrated by spending money. And there was this pent-up demand, as economists call it. There were a lot of worries, quite frankly, before we had the Friday numbers, that people would be very, very cautious, very, very careful. And probably some people are, but by these aggregate numbers, it indicated that people really celebrated being able to get out and spend and work. Now, 1 month doesn't make a trend, but this has been very heartening for those individuals who look ahead, and one group of individuals who base their activity on looking ahead are investors. And as you have seen, those of you who follow the stock market has reacted extremely strongly to the news that we got Friday. In fact, today the market is up another strong gain. So probably we're looking for a little better recovery than we thought, which is certainly good news. Now, we do have challenges ahead. One big challenge is that if you look and read about previous pandemics, and again, I've done that, or been trying to do that, they're not one-shot deals. They tend to come back. In fact, the all-time pandemic, at least in our country's history, the so-called Spanish flu of 1917 and 1919, little background on that, the Spaniards should be very, very unhappy about the fact it's named the Spanish flu. The only reason it's named the Spanish flu is this flu broke out, or this virus broke out during World War I, when there were severe lockdowns on the press. And there are many who think that actually the first outbreaks were here in the US. There's no evidence that the outbreak started in Spain, but when the first cases were revealed in Spain, because Spain did not have a lockdown in their press, because they didn't participate in World War I, it was reported, oh, we have this flu being found in Spain, and ergo it was called the Spanish flu. But that flu came back twice. And actually, it was the second time it came back, which was right after the signing of the armistice ending World War I, and then it went into the winter of 1919. That was actually the most severe part. So that's something we have to worry about. Will this flu come back, and will that mean that we have to go back to lockdowns, or how are we going to handle that? A second concern is that as we begin to open up,
people won't take the precautions that we want them to take, as North Carolina has advertised. You want to do the 3 W's, wait, wash, and wear. That is, wait, social distancing, wash your hands, and wear a mask where you can. And in fact, I will tell you something that most people don't know. This is not a big secret. You will soon be seeing on various media outlets some public service announcements from people in North Carolina who are very, very famous, mainly sports stars, talking about how we need to be careful in going back to our normal activities. That's being done again as a result of the governor and his people trying to encourage that, as well as the media people. The North Carolina Association of Broadcasters are helping in that regard. So that's something to look out for. The other thing that some organizations in North Carolina are doing is to try to train people in their individual economic sectors in how to go about doing business in a careful way. And the first group that's done this has been the North Carolina Restaurant Association. You will see, if you haven't already, at many restaurants, when you walk in the door, there will be a sticker saying, I think it says, you can count on NC, or maybe count on NC. And what that will indicate is that that restaurant and that restaurant's employees have gone through training that's educated them on how to conduct themselves and how to keep their patrons safe as we go through this opening up. And the governor is encouraging other groups, private sector groups, to do the same. So the ultimate, of course, the ultimate solution to this virus will be first a treatment, meaning that if you do catch the virus, you get the treatment and maybe you're only hospitalized, or maybe not even hospitalized, but for a couple of days, and then you're back on your feet, and then ultimately the vaccine. And as I'm sure most of you have read, the country, in fact, the world is going as fast as they can. I think we've dubbed this warp speed, the warp speed project, to develop a vaccine. And we've heard some very positive news from some vaccine developers, from some pharmaceutical companies, that we may have, and fingers crossed, a vaccine by possibly the end of the year, if not the beginning of the year. That will ultimately be the solution to the virus. I do think what this has awakened us to is the fact that viruses are still possible, pandemics are still possible. I would not be surprised, similar to what we did after 9/11, when a separate federal department, standalone federal department, Homeland Security, was set up. I would not be surprised at some point within the next 6 to 9 months that the activities of the CDC and others who are involved in watching for pandemics might be elevated to a cabinet level position to give that more focus, more prominence, because clearly this pandemic, even if we are on the mend, it's costing us probably in the neighborhood of, in terms of our economy, in terms of lost earnings, lost profits, lost wages and salaries, $4 trillion. $4 trillion. Now, let me quickly say the federal government, when it was clear that states were going to shut down, were going to limit a lot of their economy, the federal government did move very, very rapidly to try to cushion that blow. And the issue here was, if you shut down between a third and 40% of your economy, and you don't allow those businesses to operate and earn revenues, you're in danger of having those businesses lost forever. And I think it was very wise for our policymakers to decide, we don't want that to happen. When the virus is gone, we want our economy back largely intact. So there's been a lot of federal money that's been pushed out the door. The PPP, the payroll protection plan, there's been hundreds of billions of dollars for the farm sector. They've suffered a lot. There have been the stimulus checks going to individuals. The Federal Reserve has gotten in on this. They're actually in the process of setting up some new lending plans for businesses. And so if you total what's called the fiscal side of things, that'd be the president and the Congress working together with what the Federal Reserve is doing, we're looking at about $8 trillion of federal money being pushed into people's hands, businesses' hands, in order to try to give us a backstop to this. Now, even with that, we're going to have bankruptcies. I think we're probably going to see maybe as high as 15% of businesses go bankrupt. And we're going to have some jobs lost permanently. So when we come out of this, we're not going to come out of this being the same economy. And let me finish my allotted time here by talking about the long future. How might this pandemic change our economy? I think in several ways. I think already we have had in our economy a movement by many businesses to try to replace people performing tasks with technology and machinery. And that's not new in our history. That's not new in world history. That's been going on forever. But with new technology becoming more and more capable, robots, artificial intelligence, that's becoming more possible. And this was already something that was going on. I think that's going to push this to a higher level. I think we're going to have many businesses say to themselves, if we come back from this, one of the things we realize, if we have people doing things, that's costly because people can get sick. Government can say to the people, don't come to work. If we can replace people with machines and technology, that'll help us in the long run. I mean, obviously not all jobs are going to do that, but I think that we will see that ramped up. I think we will see how business is conducted. I mean, everyone's been talking about remote working, and that has picked up tremendously. Prior to the pandemic, roughly 8 to 10% of people were working remotely. I could easily see that double. And that would have, I think, very broad implications, not just for individual families, but for commuting. You don't need to commute as much. For car ownership, for pollution, if not as many people are driving to work and back every day, could help with pollution. Commercial real estate, where businesses have their offices, could take a big hit. So that's going to be something to watch. And then lastly, I think that some people, not all, of course, it's never everyone, but some people will begin to look at where they're living in a different way. And in the 21st century, since 2000, cities have really been on the rise. Young people especially love to live in cities. Graduate from college, they want to live in cities. They're fun places to live, there are activities, restaurants, et cetera. And that's fueled the rebound of cities all around the country. We don't see that so much in Raleigh because Raleigh's been growing, Charlotte's been growing, but my hometown is Cincinnati, Ohio, the inner city, which had very big issues economically in the last 30 years, inner city Cincinnati's come back. And young people are wanting to live there. A lot of exciting things happen. Now you have the fact that cities in many states have been the areas where the pandemic has spread more. That may cause some households to say, do I really want to live in a city where we might have another pandemic and it may spread and I'm vulnerable in that city? Maybe I want to consider a small town. Maybe I want to consider a rural area. And if we can ever get high-speed internet to small towns and rural areas in North Carolina, something that I know many of our government officials want, something that we may see in another stimulus package from the federal government. I think that could open up a lot of small towns and rural areas in North Carolina to economic development, something that's been lacking. So I think those are some of the long-term effects that we may be seeing. Last point. I've often been asked, well, Mike, when are we going to get back to normal? When are we get back to the economy that we had prior to the virus? That is, when are we going to get back to 4% unemployment? When are we going to get back to the economy growing at 2 or 3%? Lots of forecasts out there, but most of the forecasts, at least right now, suggests that it's probably not until late 2021, more 18 months from now, where we might even get close to those numbers. Let me just focus on unemployment. The Congressional Budget Office, which is a very well-regarded office that does economic analysis of the economy and the budget for the federal government. It's nonpartisan. They're projecting that we will get the national unemployment rate down to somewhere between 8 and 10% at the end of middle of 2021, and then maybe fingers crossed down to 6% by the end of 2021. So that's based on thinking that people will slowly come back to the economy, but there's also going to be the economy is going to be different. There are a lot of people who won't have jobs to come back to as jobs change. And so this has been, we have suffered a permanent loss in wealth due to this pandemic. It's not as if it's gone off and somewhere is hibernating. It's gone. And if you look at the time it's going to take for the broadest measure of our economy, GDP, to come back, that's probably even longer. That's probably well into 2022. Now, I hope I'm wrong. Because I know this sounds rather pessimistic, but I do want people to not take this casually and realize this was a major event on so many levels, medically, socially, economically, and in our history, that it's not something that we just snap a finger and we're over with. All right, let me stop there. I think I'm at about 1:23, and I'm happy to take questions.
I have a question, if I may. This is Richard Watkins. Wait, am I audible? Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
I hear
Okay,
you.
sorry about that. My question is, during your presentation and at the end of the presentation, you use words in past tense like this was and this, these were, when in fact, today, North Carolina over the past weeks have experienced record highs as far as hospitalizations, crossing 1,000 deaths. It doesn't seem at all like North Carolina specifically is on the decline as far as this. It really looks like, especially from a public health perspective, which is never separate from the economy, the worst is still ahead of us. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on why you chose to use past tense words when dealing with this pandemic that seems like it's getting worse for North Carolinians.
Well, that's more of a health question than an economics question, but probably what the number that I most look at is, because we are testing more. I think we're testing 20,000 a month. I may have the time period there, but we've ramped up testing dramatically in the state. And as you test more, you get more cases. The number there that I watch, at least I watch, and I think the medical people think it's very important, is the percentage of tests that turn out to be positive. And I believe that's been trending down. So that's probably my sign, the sign that I look at that gives me optimism.
I just want to correct, I referenced deaths and hospitalizations. So a lot of businesses won't open back up because their owner died. So I'm referencing specifically deaths.
Okay.
Okay, I do have some questions in the chat. Linda she has two questions. Why the Economist missed the good jobs report? How did they get that wrong? And then why is the stock market doing so well when many are out of work and the economy is not so great?
Let me answer second first. Stock market is always forward-looking. Investors in the stock market are not looking at now or actually next week. They're looking long run. And I think, again, Friday's report was very positive for them. And they're trying to assess to what extent will the economy come back, to what extent business revenues will improve, to what extent spending by consumers will rise. And they like what they see compared to the viewpoint maybe just 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I think that's why the market's going up. And the key there is that the market, they're looking where are things they think are going to be, and it's obviously a forecast. Now, to tail back to why economists were wrong, I can try to finesse this and say, well, it was because we didn't we don't have any track record to go on. But I think we probably this report, the basis for why this report was good is that consumers, households, once they could go out and interact in the economy, they did. And they did it very robustly. And I think the consensus was, yes, consumers would go out and spend, but they'd be cautious about that. And not as many would go out and spend because they were still fearful. It appears that the fear factor was not as great as what many of us thought it would be.
Okay, I thought I was muted. I have a question from Charles Upshaw. Something you did not discuss today. What are your thoughts about China?
In what regard? Clearly, we have a lot of questions for China in terms of the outbreak that apparently started in Wuhan and whether the Chinese kept that a secret. If the question is broader than that on our trade relations with China, we're probably, of course, this is almost like ancient history, but it was only, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, we did get an initial trade agreement with China. There were some thoughts that the administration might rip that up in response to their concerns about how China handled the coronavirus in their country. They did not, the Trump administration did not do that. So it appears as if we're going to continue our trade relationships with China. But there certainly our economic interactions with China have changed dramatically under the Trump administration. The administration has taken a much harder line with China. I think China's brand has probably been tarnished by what's happened, whether true or not, that they did sort of conceal what was going on regarding the coronavirus. I think there will be some moves in the US by companies to reduce the reliance on China, either in terms of sales or in terms of buying inputs from China. So I don't think China's come out of this yet looking well, looking good, I should say.
Okay, Jim, how are we doing on time? Because I do have a couple of more questions in the chat. I've lost Jim.
He's on, but he's muted.
Okay, I'll go ahead with my next question then. Reagan Weaver, what do you see in terms of moving more manufacturing back to the US, such as drug manufacturing?
I think that's a possibility. I think pharmaceutical manufacturing, I think some apparel manufacturing. I think probably even before the coronavirus hit here, listeners may recall that when the virus hit China, and Wuhan is the center, is the province where the center of manufacturing there, and manufacturing in China had almost virtually shut down. That was impacting our economy because many of our manufacturers get inputs from China, if not final products. And I think that combined with, again, some reaction to how China's handled the coronavirus is probably going to cause many manufacturers to look at reshoring some of their operations that they had put in China. So I think that could help North Carolina in a couple of ways. I think certainly in the pharmaceutical area. I think in the apparel area, for example, if we do more masks here in the US, more masks and gowns. Pharmaceutical area, President had to work very hard apparently with Prime Minister of India to get, I forget what medicine it was, released. We don't want to be in that position again. So I think we could have more of that, a move to have more and more medicines made here in the US, more medical supplies made here in the US, and even some hardcore manufacturing items. And I think there might be a renewed Buy America viewpoint. So yeah, I think there's some possibilities there for a revival of some manufacturing as a result of in the U.S. as a result of this virus.
I have a question, Dr. Walden. So we pushed $8 trillion roughly into the economy to support it, and it's been effective in the short run. What are the long-term effects of the sort of deficits that are being created?
Well, everything that the federal government, the president and the Congress, this gets a little bit in the weeds, but in terms of economic policy, there's what we call fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy is what the president and the Congress do, mainly through the budget, through spending and taxes. And they've ended up about $4 trillion. Most of that has actually been pushed out the door into people and businesses' hands. That's all borrowed. That's all borrowed. So this is adding to the debt, adding to the long run payments on the debt. Now, if there's any good news here, interest rates are at record lows. So the federal government is borrowing money. But the way I view this is, I don't view it as some people view it as they're worried that China's going to say, hey, we're coming for our money. That's never going to happen. But what it means is more of our future federal spending will have to be devoted to managing and paying on the debt, which means we can't do other things, or we have to raise taxes. What the Federal Reserve does, and they've committed about $4 trillion. Now, most of that is actually not out the door yet. That's not in people's hands. The Federal Reserve has been working to set up their lending facilities. That's all come from the magic power that the Federal Reserve has, which is they can just create money out of thin air. In the old days, it was printed money. Today, it's digital. And the concern there always is that will cause inflation to rise. Most economists don't think that's a short run danger, but it could be a long run danger.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Huge virtual round of applause for you, Dr. Walden. Thank you so much for this fascinating talk and for answering these questions. We have a lot more questions. We didn't unfortunately have time for you to answer all the questions that we have. So you're going to have to come back, I'm afraid,
and
talk to us again.
Always a pleasure.
So we look forward to that very much. And we want to thank you so much for being with us today and shedding light on current events from an economic standpoint and giving us your outlook. And hopefully we will see that recovery during the remainder of 2020 and 2021 and get back to 6% unemployment by the end of 2021 and we'll not see another pandemic. But you've got a lot on your plate with all you're doing at NC State, with all of your broadcasts and articles and talks and books. And so we think you need the coveted Rotary coffee mug. That will energize you to keep up with all of your activities. So we're going to get to you the coveted Rotary coffee mug with the 4-way test on it to be a memento of this meeting. And we look forward to seeing you again very much. So thank you again.
Thank you all,
Dr. Walden.
Appreciate it.
So now we're going to close our meeting as we always do with the 4-way test. So if you'll all repeat after me. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build
goodwill and better friendship?
Fourth, will it be
beneficial to all concerned?
R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. Very good.
Yay, thank you.
Rotarians, we are adjourned. See you next Monday where we have another excellent program for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good week.
You too.